We are on the precipice of a revolution. AI is already radically reshaping our world, and whilst many people are a bit concerned, maybe even afraid of what the future may bring, I believe that when you use it right, it can actually help you evolve your self-concept. Today, I'll share with you why and how. Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Lorena, I'm a somatic self-concept and identity coach, and I support you in bridging the gap between who you currently are or perceive yourself to be and who you desire to be or become. Let's dive into AI and your self-concept. The world is evolving so rapidly. I think it's absolutely normal that there are some concerns surrounding AI. Change is always scary. Despite the fact that change is the only constant in life, we fear it a lot as humans. I often say this to my clients because we tend to fear failure and success equally as much. And the reason for that is that we fear change. Change itself is unpredictable, it's scary. And in the case of AI, I feel that the underlying fear is most likely a fear of a loss of control, maybe some existential uncertainty, and overall just a fear of disempowerment. But when you know how to change your self-concept, that is all not relevant, because nothing can disempower you, and you know that you have the power over your own future and reality. Everything in life is about how you perceive it. You can perceive something as a gift or as a threat, right? A lot of the work that I do with my clients is about transmuting unwanted emotional charges into their desires, into their evolution, and we can adopt the same attitude with AI. With anything, you get to choose the perception that you adopt. And someone with a self-concept of being a victim might see AI as something that's happening to them, whilst someone with a strong self-concept might see it as a tool that can work for them. And of course, AI can also have a negative impact on your self-concept. We're already seeing how AI can shape how people perceive themselves. Whether it's deepfakes and hyper-personalized content, extremely intelligent algorithms, or even AI-generated influencers that you may then compare yourself to, consciously or unconsciously. If you're not conscious of it, your self-concept might be changing, sometimes deteriorating without you even realizing it. But I also believe that AI can help us evolve spiritually, emotionally, and intuitively. I'll share why and how a bit later in the video, but first I want to dive into what makes us different from AI. What makes us human? Now, first of all, AI does not have emotions. It can imitate emotions pretty well, scarily well, but it can't feel. It doesn't have a body, so it can't be actually present with you. It doesn't have intuition or imagination. Even the creativity that you see from AI, that's all pulled from somewhere else. It can pull information and it can recognize patterns, but it can't conjure something up. So emotions, intuition, a body, imagination, AI doesn't have any of that. Those are human qualities. AI is incredibly intelligent, but it doesn't have consciousness. And that won't change, right? Like, even as AI gets smarter and smarter and smarter, it will never have emotions or intuition or the ability to embody a state of being. Now, there might be people who disagree with me on this, but it depends on how you perceive consciousness. And as someone who has studied consciousness for a very long time, I don't believe that consciousness is down to intelligence. Let me know what you think though. Let me know if you think consciousness is about the mind, is about intelligence, or if you think there's more to it. But either way, when it comes to emotions and feeling, we will always have to do that ourselves. We have to keep our connection to our own innate wisdom. We have to work with our bodies and our nervous systems. We are responsible for ourselves. And not only can AI not do that type of work for you, it can also not hold space for you whilst you process your emotions yourself. It can't hold space for you whilst you go through the process of changing your self-concept. And as life gets simpler and simpler in so many ways, we have to be conscious of not losing all of this. Especially because many of the clients who come to me because they struggle to embody a new self-concept, they struggle with that and they come to me for coaching support because they live in their head. They analyze and overthink everything. They try to figure it out. And they're often very disconnected from their bodies, sometimes without even knowing it. They're often disconnected from themselves. They're not able to be present with themselves. And that disconnect is part of what causes the issues. That disconnect is part of what causes the lack of progress in the first place. That's what causes the repetitive cycles and the attachment to their current identity. If you're new here or you just haven't accessed it yet, then I suggest you check out the Self-Concept Mastery Blueprint, which I've linked below. It's a free resource and a daily checklist to support you in changing your self-concept. And it goes a bit deeper into the framework that I teach and also how it's not all about the mind, so that you can understand it a bit better and begin applying it. But it's important not to forget the body, because we already are so cerebral. We are already so in our heads most of the time because it's how our world is designed. So with our world changing more and more and more, we need to be really conscious of that. Speaking of conscious use of AI, I do think AI can be amazing. And I think it can actually support you in your self-concept evolution. Because when you're conscious of what I just shared, then AI can take over all that heady stuff. It can create space for us to focus more on our intuition, for us to focus more on our spiritual practice, deeper emotional work, by taking over all that left brain rational stuff. And something that really bothers me in the self-concept and spiritual space is that a lot of people are taught really surface level stuff. They are not truly supported with the emotional integration, with the embodiment, with the things that really matter, with all of the things that are really hard to do. And I've sadly had a lot of clients over the years who have had really disappointing coaching experiences before coming to work with me in RYS. And that's primarily because what they've been taught has either been really basic or sometimes even harmful. And one of the stories that I'm told again and again is that they've been taught by coaches to just repeat affirmations. Or they are just given a list of affirmations and there you go. Now, there's nothing wrong with affirmations, right? If you use them the right way, but that's not something you need coaching for. You need coaching for the deeper layers where the patterns truly get to change. But AI can be amazing for that surface level stuff. You can literally go to ChatGPT right now and ask it to create a list of affirmations for you based on your goals, your desires, the version of yourself that you want to become. That's awesome. Like, how great that it can take over that part so that you can focus on the stuff that truly matters, that truly takes work and dedication and commitment. And what AI can also help you with is to organize your thoughts. For example, for the mindset and reflective work that I give my clients, I give them a lot of journaling prompts to sit with. Now, it could be really useful to share those prompts with AI and ask it to point out patterns that you can then bring to a coaching call. Because whilst AI doesn't have consciousness and it doesn't have emotions and it can't be with you, what it's really amazing at, because of its intelligence, is to recognize patterns. So I really welcome that when clients come to me and say, hey, I brought this to ChatGPT and those are all the patterns that it pointed out to me. Let's dive deeper. That's awesome. But that also brings me to how not to use AI when it comes to your self-concept. Now, I've touched on some of this, but there are caveats to using AI, right? Use AI for mindset work, for perspective shifts, for a little pep talk if you need it, but it can't regulate your nervous system. It can't integrate your emotions for you. And I can speak for myself from my personal experience that for me, everything changed when I began hiring somatic coaches. And somatic work has always been a big element of Recreate Yourself for that same reason as well. And when I say somatic work, I mean through the body, related to and happening through the body. That's exactly why I got trained in a lot of somatic modalities, because embodiment happens through the body. It's literally in the name. And any sustained, lasting changes in your self-concept have to be felt, not just assumed. And it's through that type of work that my clients see the results they see. That's why a lot of them who were stuck in the same patterns for years and years, trying to change them through their mind, think themselves out of these patterns, analyze themselves out of it. But whilst they were making some progress, they kept hitting a wall. The success came and the patterns rewired because we worked with the body, with the nervous system, with the subconscious. AI can't do any of this. And I'm saying that because one of my main intentions is to empower you. And we need to be careful not to outsource too much. As an example, if you've heard me speak about this before, I often say that traditional talk therapy can be very limiting. Sometimes people get a bit offended by me saying that because they perceive it as me shitting on therapy. I'm not. Therapy is awesome and it really has its place. But the problem that I have with it, and that's a problem that I've encountered based on my own personal experience and that I have also observed in clients and been told by clients, is that you can really go in circles. You may talk about the same problems in different ways again and again. You go back to your childhood, to where it might have come from. And at some point, it just feels like you've talked through everything. But now what? What do you actually do with that? And that's kind of the same with AI. It can give you that surface level context, but you need to be careful not to rely on it for anything deeper than that when it comes to your self-concept, when it comes to your deeper emotional and belief patterns. There's also something where we need to be cautious when it comes to the speed of AI, because AI is fast, man. It's amazing. It's pretty amazing. But we need to be a bit cautious that we don't get too used to fast answers and fast results. I catch myself doing that. It really deteriorates your attention span. Most people already have pretty horrible attention spans these days. And I've always criticized in the self-concept space this oversimplification and the reduction of the process, which often leads to people feeling like they need to see overnight or instant shifts, which is really quite unrealistic if you want lasting results. I very much advocate for long-term transformation so that you can have sustainable results, for long-term coaching, because when we jump on this instant result bandwagon, we judge ourselves when we don't get it fast. We might feel disappointed when we go back and forth, which happens to a lot of people, right? It's like a quick success and then they're right back in their old patterns. What has taken many years, decades to develop, the beliefs that have taken so long to develop, that's not going to change overnight. In fact, it's better if it doesn't. So the depth that you want can't happen fast. The deep changes you want, they require you to really commit, to invest in yourself. And I don't just mean in terms of money, although that's great too, but I mean emotionally, with your time, with your dedication. And therefore, I think it's important not to rely on AI for emotional support. I know people who use AI as a therapist instead of having a person, be that a coach or a therapist who can hold space for you. And I've already explained it. I don't need to say why the latter is better for your results. And also the latter is better for your lifestyle, because another danger with AI is that it can really disconnect us from other people too. But I think it's important to emphasize, because relying on AI for emotional support, apart from it being limited in the ways I described, and also because it currently pulls information from the internet, which, let's face it, not everything on the internet is correct, treating it as a person, treating it as your therapist or a coach, that can also lead to a lot more disconnection, right? You don't want to outsource your power or neglect your relationships. In fact, the reason a lot of people want to change their self-concept in the first place is because they want to improve their relationships. Because your self-concept impacts your relationships too. We know how quickly we are influenced. It's often how our patterns and beliefs were shaped in the first place. Influence. And that's why it's so hard to change them. So in this changing world, and I can only imagine how rapidly it's still going to change, we're in the AI infancy right now. And if you find this video a year from now, you'll probably be like, that's so outdated. Who knows? You tell me if you find it a year from now. But I believe that now, more than ever, it's important to enhance emotional mastery and self-concept mastery, because the people who will thrive in the AI revolution will be the ones who master themselves and who can use AI as a tool rather than be its servant. As opposed to the ones who rely on external sources of validation and wisdom and emotional regulation. Now, let me know your thoughts on the whole topic. I know it's a bit futuristic and a bit of a different vibe than what we usually have. Next week, we're going to talk all about resistance, why you feel resistance when you are wanting to or trying to step into a new version of yourself, and why that is actually a good thing. So tune in next week, and I'll see you then.